most of us, we don't breathe deep. We don't breathe from our diaphragm. We live in a constant stressed state, which means that we're chest breathers, barely chest breathers, and that keeps our body very acidic. And body chemical functions cannot happen if the pH is not correct.
Exactly. Say it again. Say it again. That's
so a lot of bodily functions, bodily chemistry that needs to happen cannot happen or progress effectively if the pH is not correct.
Right. Exactly.
It's truly as simple as that.
And hello, everybody. Thanks for joining in for another episode of Mind Rehab. I'm your host, Jameen Willis. And today we're going to talk about how to get to the root of the problem. We're going to talk about removing the negative things that have been holding you back. And in order to get to the root of the problem, how to get rid of the negative things that have been holding you back, a lot of times we have to stop and focus on what's the root of the problem. Here at Mind Rehab, we do research and we find solutions for things that may have you stuck, And so today I wanted to bring on actually one of our sponsors. Her name is Brigitte Papp with Oasis Medical Massage. And I brought her on a podcast today to talk about some of the ways that you can relieve trauma and some of the ways that you can relieve stress, and also how to, one of the ways that she's familiar with on removing negative things that have been holding you back. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on Brigitte Papp with Oasis Medical Massage. Thank you for being on the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me.
Good. So the reason why I brought you on the podcast is when you signed up to be a sponsor, that initial conversation that we had about relieving trauma and medical massage, it's kind of right up the alley of the mind rehab process. In the mind rehab process, we have come up with things that can help you, get unstuck, and also figuring out like what you really want to do. And a lot of times we come up with excuses, or we come up with reasons why we can't do what we really want to do, or why it's super duper hard. And what we do is try to help people get unstuck and come up with the reasons that may have them stuck. So I thought that it would be great to have you on the podcast to talk about medical massage and some of the benefits, and some of the things that you do to help people out. Because I love massages, whether I'm going on vacation. I do couples massages with my wife. And actually, before I got married and had kids, I would go get a massage once a week. But when I got married and had kids, that kind of went out the window. But again, thanks for being on the podcast today. So just briefly tell our listeners, who you are and what you do. And then we'll just kind of have a conversation, have a discussion about ways to remove the negative things that have been holding you back and some of the techniques that you use.
Sure. My name is Brigitte, as you said. I'm with Oasis Medical Massage. My background, I have a degree in biology, a minor in chemistry, and I've worked in the medical field as a cytotech, as well as in toxicology before that. A cytotech is someone who looks in the microscope for precancerous and cancerous cells. So I have a lot of training in the body and the cells and how they work, down to, the molecular level. And I got into massage for personal reasons, being that I was in an accident when I was 15. And this car accident resulted in herniations in the cervical spine, which is the neck, and some other things that were going on. It caused my memory and concentration to falter, and some other things. And as I was getting treated at that time, this is back in the 80s, I'm dating myself, sorry. They were doing some different types of massage techniques, a lot of chiropractic techniques and other things. Eventually, a neurosurgeon told me that he wanted me to go in for preoperative tests, that they were thinking of fusing my neck together. I went in for those tests, and we're fast forwarding now about 4 years. So at this point, I'm in college, pre-med, biology is my declared degree, and he tells me that he wants to do the surgery. I go in for the pre-op tests, and he sends me home. No operation, no answers, just sends me home. So I go into his office and ask him, so what's up? And his response was, well, I'll do the surgery if you want me to. I mean, eventually in a few years, you'll be begging me to do it anyway. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not an answer. So that put the fire under me to really delve into what is going on with me, what therapies have helped, and how do they work. And so what I came to find was, or what I've come to find is that the way that the spine is put together with the vertebra and the discs in between, what a herniation is the discs are the shock absorbers for our body movements. And they're, if you think of the different types of silicone, like, you know, there's that kind of silicone that's super, it's super hard compared to like the stuff that you use in the bathrooms to seal off things. That's a little softer, right?
Right.
And then there's another kind that's still softer yet. Well, the discs are kind of like that. So the outside part is the part that is that harder stuff. And as you go towards the center, it's softer. And when you have a herniation, there's different types that you can have. So it's kind of like this silicone jelly donut, right? You got the jelly squishy stuff in the middle.
Okay.
And depending on how severe the herniation is, or if it's a complete rupture, that jelly consistency can come out the sides. Any direction, right? You have a whole circle. So anywhere in that circle, it can come out.
Okay.
Well, if it comes out to the parts that are hanging off of the spinal column, they're called the nerve roots that come out from there. That jelly substance or that silicone can touch, in effect, the nerves or the nerve roots. And this can create intense pain, tingling, numbness, all kinds of stuff, depending, again, on the severity. So my thought was that everything that they were doing for me specifically was to alleviate pressure. So they were doing a lot of traction, which is, you know, pulling on the head a little bit to create some space, creating space to get everything to somehow come back to its normal order. Well, I decided that if that's the case, and up until that point, I wasn't an athlete of any sort. I was a bookworm and a theater geek. So I started really looking at that and decided that if what I need to do is create the best possible environment for my body to heal itself, because it can. That's the miracle of what we have as living beings, is that we can heal ourselves. Okay, so I looked into different types of exercise, different types of training as far as techniques for massage and for working out and food, because all of that changes our body's natural environment,
right,
inside out. Food is very important. Movement is very important. What kind of drinks you're drinking is very important. Hydration. So those three things. So I started getting into working out. That led me eventually down the road later to get into personal training and a lot of other things. But so that's what kind of led me down the road to how do I create less pain in my body without having surgery and without taking meds.
Gotcha.
Does that kind of take us to where we need to be?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of gave the history of how you got into, solutions. And I like what you said about the body has the ability to naturally heal itself with the right exercises and the right circumstances. So, what's the difference between, when I go to, Cancun and get a couples massage? What's the difference between regular massage and massage therapy?
So the very short answer is medical massage is outcome-based therapy. So what does that mean? That means that you have a specific issue that you're wanting addressed.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a full body massage at some point. Usually that's not where we start, but it really just depends on what's going on with the person, in all honesty. I would say 98% of the time, if someone comes in with, let's say, they woke up with a stiff neck, of course, I'm not going to start massaging their feet, although that could help,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to work on the neck because the purpose of the massage is to relieve the neck pain. So I'll start there, but I also do a systemic view of what's going on with the body. Where is this really coming from? Because one of the phrases that we were taught in massage school is sometimes the pain is where it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So just because you're feeling the pain in the neck, it doesn't mean that that's the true origin. It could be the shoulder. It could be your hip. It could be knee pain that you've had for years and you just never did anything about it. And now because of the way the body is interconnected with our connective tissue or fascia, now you've done something else and it just becomes this domino effect of a chain of events literally in the body.
Gotcha. So medical massage is kind of like physical therapy and sports therapy, but the
Right.
technique or the solution is various massage techniques.
Yes, they use medical massage in physical therapy and in um, some trainers are certified to be able to do it. Physical therapy, of course, they use it as well. It's outcome-based therapy, and if we, if you've got savvy listeners and they look it up, it says, while a spa massage may successfully relax you or temporarily relieve some stress, medical massage will produce tangible results. So it's result-based. Medical massage therapy treatment is planned out with a specific goal in mind, and your massage will factor into a larger treatment plan that is based around your health needs and goals.
Okay. So what about if, one of the things that I focus on is like the mind and the function of the mind. Can medical massage aid with like relieving stress and anxiety and things like that? Especially, I mean, I know we're limited on what we can do right now, but a lot of people are under an extreme amount of stress and have anxiety right now. Can medical massage aid with like stress and anxiety?
It absolutely can, because the way that medical massage works and specific techniques in it is you want to deal with the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system is the one that is in control of the uncontrollables, quote unquote, right? So your breathing and your heart rate and things like that. And there are several types of techniques that help to access the autonomic nervous system. And then what I do, or as medical massage therapists, most of us get into that by calming your body down. So there's specific techniques that help to do that. It's very similar to what is done with relaxation massage, but again, the difference is what's the outcome, what's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a relaxation massage is, I just want to come and get relaxed and, spend some time, smell good, feel good.
Right. Right. So one of the most intriguing things that you taught me and really caught my attention, and why I definitely wanted to bring you on was when you talked about trauma.
Mhm.
So a little bit of my history is I was basically traumatized, and it's not a coincidence that what we're going through right now is when the real estate market crashed in 2008 and 2009. It kind of traumatized me because my background is I grew up in a real estate family. As soon as I graduated from high school, I went to go take my real estate classes. Even before I graduated from high school, I co-opted my aunt and uncle's real estate brokerage that they owned. And so I knew I wanted to be a realtor, went to real estate school, and real estate was all that I've done since I graduated from high school. So I got into the business, bought my first house, bought investment property, built up clientele, and then the market crashed. And it was like that was all that I knew. I identified with being a realtor as who I was, not something that I did. And so I was traumatized, like I didn't know what to do. I didn't have like a degree to fall back on and things like that. And so I felt like I had identity crisis, how I felt like I kind of lost my identity because like, well, if I can't be a realtor anymore, I can't sell houses, what can I do? And that's actually what inspired me to come up with the mind rehab process and allowed me to uh, kind of rediscover my gift of writing and creating and inspiring and helping other people. But that was like a traumatizing event that went on. But anyways, fast forward to our conversation, how you talked about how you can have trauma kind of trapped up in your body, and through massage therapy, there are some ways that you can kind of work with that and get those that trauma out of the body. Like, can you kind of expand on that, like that conversation that we had before?
Sure, absolutely. So a lot of times, and the best way to um, give an example is someone who's been in some kind of physical trauma. So, the most common one that I deal with, of course, is some kind of car accident. And yes, there's the physical trauma that we usually don't feel for a couple of days afterwards because our adrenaline is rushing through our body like crazy. So we don't really feel anything. And then, up to 3-4 days later, all of a sudden, oh man, my neck really hurts, my back really hurts, my arm, depending on how you were hit and all that. What happens is our bodies, when we experience something, whether that's a physical trauma or emotional trauma, psychological trauma, we aren't just a meat suit, right? It's mind, body, spirit. All three are interconnected and react to whatever's going on in your life.
Right.
And without getting down the rabbit hole of the spiritual one, if you don't mind, I'm going to stick with the physical and emotional for the moment.
I got you.
Okay, so in the physical and emotional aspect of things, when something happens, your body physically reacts and you emotionally react. Somebody screams behind you, you tense up and you look over your shoulder.
Right.
You get into a car wreck, you tense up, and then you try to process everything that's going on. Even as I'm expressing this, I'm like going through the emotions. It's kind of crazy. So those two are connected very much so because of the way the nervous system works. So as we get into these situations of some kind of stress, there's a bunch of different chemical pathways that open up and start to take over and do their thing in our body. That includes cortisol, that includes the heart rate going up, the adrenaline being pumped, the vasodilation of our veins and arteries, regulating our breathing changes, our heart rate changes, our blood pressure changes. All these things connect together, whether it's emotional or physical. So what they teach about it in massage school, but until you actually see it happen, you think, especially if you're a science-minded person of many years, you think, yeah, that's that woo-woo stuff. But But it really isn't. What I've noticed in several of my clients and patients is that just because the physical part is what I'm dealing with, because in massage therapy, of course, it's very tactile. My hands are on the body trying to release the connective tissue conundrum that has happened
Mm-hmm.
and the effects of that on everything else. As a person starts to relax into the releasing state, so now we're getting into that parasympathetic nervous system, the relax and digest state, right? We want to just relax as opposed to the fight or flight, right? As we get into that and the body starts to try to let go of things, people will have a somatic response, meaning that the emotion of what happened will come up. Because, for example, the car accident,
Mm-hmm.
there is that level of fear, there is the frustration, there is the anger that all gets bound up at that exact same moment that the trauma happens.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm working with some of my clients, that starts to come back up. And the best thing that a person can do if they start to experience that, and what I tell my clients very specifically is, if you start to feel, my go-to is anger. So if you start to feel that anger coming up or these memories flooding back, let them flood over you, but release them. Don't ask why, don't judge it, don't try to categorize it, don't try to cubbyhole it, label it, put it away, organize it. Just let it come up and then release it, like the ocean on the beach. Let it come up and let it recede back. That is a way for the body to process those emotions, because a lot of times the emotions get stuck, and the shoulder pain that we feel is there because it's something that we have not addressed for many years.
Mm.
So sometimes our physical pain isn't even really from what we think it is. It's from 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You had a real bad breakup or something, okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's never completely been resolved. And so it's still lying there, you're fine. And now other stressors come into your life and it starts to domino effect on it, or layer upon layer upon layer, until finally your body goes, no, that's enough. You need to deal with this.
Right.
And so a lot of times, and now getting into kind of the more spiritual thing,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when you're experiencing pain, if you can breathe through the pain and meditate on, where is this really coming from? And that's really difficult to do. And I am not a psychologist or a counselor or anything like that to be able to assist with that path. But that's something that I think is very important, especially as we are trying to heal ourselves and create the right environment in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Because, all these things that happen, it's all chemistry. It's all chemistry and physics.
Right.
So if the energy isn't right, that's physics.
Yeah.
The energy transfer isn't correct, the chemistry doesn't happen correctly, or the chemistry is often can't happen correctly, then we end up with other ways for our body to say, hey, we need some help here.
Right. Yeah, that's called dis-ease. Dis-ease.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's why I'm such a strong advocate for meditation. I've been meditating. When I came up with this process, I kind of discovered meditation, and actually, I'm waiting for things to kind of open back up because I'm going to learn transcendent meditation, TM.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but they're closed right now. So
right.
One of the meditation practices is you focus your attention on the area of your body that's causing you pain, and you focus on that for a period of time, and then you release it. And I've found that to help from headaches to stomach pains and things like that. So yeah, that's awesome what you talked about.
Absolutely. And if you wanted to really go down that rabbit hole a little bit, there's scientific proof of why that actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And it has everything to do with, in my opinion, and in some others that I've researched, with the breath, bringing enough oxygen into the body, creating that alkaline environment in the body, creates proper environment for the chemical reactions to happen the way that they are meant to happen.
Exactly.
Because one of the things that we learn in high school biology even is pH, right? And how important the pH is. So if it's too acidic, then that means that the pH is very low in number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like 1, 2, 3, where if it's alkaline, it's going to be higher, 9, 10. And we're supposed to be at a 7. Most of us, we don't breathe deep. We don't breathe from our diaphragm. We live in a constant stressed state, which means that we're chest breathers, barely chest breathers, and that keeps our body very acidic. And body chemical functions cannot happen if the pH is not correct.
Exactly. Say it again. Say it again. That's
So a lot of bodily functions, bodily chemistry that needs to happen cannot happen or progress effectively if the pH is not correct.
right. Exactly.
It's truly as simple as that.
Yeah.
And as an experiment for people at home, since we're all stuck at home right now, take an egg, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the egg white, if you will, and put it into vinegar or lemon juice, or take milk and put it into vinegar or lemon juice.
Right.
It changes, or in biological terms, we say denatures the protein. What does denaturing the protein mean? It changes the structure, the bonds that hold it into the shape that it's supposed to be, which make it what it is, turns, if you will, inside out on itself, right? Because it's no longer in the same shape. It can't hold the same form. And we are in a 3-dimensional world. We are 3-dimensional beings, maybe more than that, but let's stay with that.
Right.
Okay. So as this 3-dimensional structure falls apart, it is now not recognizable for what it originally was. And so if everything in our body, most things, work as lock and key, right? The shapes don't fit, the chemistry can't happen.
Wow.
The process cannot move forward because it cannot recognize.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I mean, that's exactly on the line of, what I've been studying, and that's why, I brought you on, and that makes perfect sense. Thank you for that example. What about like digestion? For me, when I get under extreme amount of stress, and my pH balance is off, and that's why in the mind rehab, when I coach people, I introduce them to alkaline water and meditating and exercising and things like that. Can physical massage aid in like digestion and circulation if you have problems? Like even me, like when I meditate, if I meditate for more than like 15 minutes in my pose, like I have poor circulation in my legs, and my legs go to sleep, and I get up and I'm wobbly.
Right.
Scarecrow. I look like a scarecrow when I get out of my meditation session. So can it aid with like digestion and circulation?
Absolutely. And even spa massage can help with that, because it's getting into just that relaxative mode for yourself, which is very important. You want to get into and get away from being in that sympathetic stressor mode, constantly fight or flight. You want to get into the parasympathetic, where you can breathe deep, relax, let go. And massage helps in that it accesses that part of the nervous system. And it also very literally, because we're using our hands, manipulates the body to get blood flowing, open up tissues, create different ways to open up the tissue so that proper circulation and therefore proper diffusion can happen. So diffusion, this is something that I don't hear a lot of people talk about, so I want to talk about it for a second. Diffusion is, you know, you open up a perfume bottle in one corner of the room, and depending on how strong it is, within 15 to 30 minutes, you can smell it in the whole house.
Right.
Okay, so that's diffusion, where the molecules are just being spread throughout the space evenly, from high concentration to low concentration. Well, this is happening in our bodies all the time, especially with water. And now there are certain protein pumps that help with the cells specifically to allow for certain materials to go in and out. But I'm just going to talk diffusion, very simple, going from an area where there's a lot to going to an area where there's very little. So if you have an area of pain, or like your example where you were meditating and you were in a position for an extended period of time, there are some parts of your body, some tissues, that were cut off from getting the nutrients that they need.
Okay.
So that's why, even though you're breathing, and if you are in that meditative state and are aware of those parts of your bodies and you breathe deep, there are some that say that you can bring that oxygen to that area to alleviate it before you even get up. That's part of it. It's all about getting that oxygen and blood flow with the nutrients that are required for the body to move, to get it to where it needs to be. Now, it's a complicated cascade of different things depending on what your focus is. What are we looking at? Are we looking at just the circulatory system? Are we looking at the fascial system? Are we looking at the musculoskeletal system? What aspect, what perspective do you want to look? And the reason I choose those words is, if you think about it, our point of view is our perspective.
Right.
And so it's not just in our physical realm that we have these points of view that don't allow us to truly see, but it's also true in our bodies that if you don't look at it from all angles, you're only getting one perspective or one point of view. So you got to take that into consideration as well.
Yep, and that's exactly, you know, why we focus on the mind rehab process is kind of looking at the big picture. Sometimes you have to zoom in and sometimes you have to focus out, because sometimes you can get so focused on the problem and not zoom out and focus on the big picture and get to the root of the problem. So just like you gave the example, so you're saying like when I meditate, a certain point of my body is being cut off, that oxygen is being cut off. So if you have, let's say, trauma in your shoulder or something like that, that circulation, that flow is not getting through because of tension or something that you did, that circulation is not getting through and it causes the pain or pressure and things like that.
Right. It definitely plays into it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
So when you are doing your meditation and you know you're getting ready to come out of your meditation, take a few moments, take some breaths to address and be aware of your body. Because yes, when we're meditating, it's all about calming our mind down, but don't forget that it's a mind, body, spirit experience.
Right.
And so you need to, as you're coming back out, address the body, give it thanks, and give it the oxygen that it needs in certain areas. And who knows, you may find that getting up from that meditative position is a little bit easier next time.
Yeah, that's good. I'm actually going to try that because, you know, I've just, not that it's like, it's not like a pain thing. It's just something that I just accepted. Like, I'm not that flexible. So it's like, hey, I'm just so used to it, but I'm definitely going to try that because.
So let me interrupt you real quick with something that may kind of blow your mind and maybe some of your listeners. So here's a concept to wrap your head around. Muscles do not age. Muscles do not age. Muscle cells, the muscle fibers, you either have them or you don't. They're either in atrophy or in hypertrophy.
You're going to have to expand. You just hit me with the Dr. Oz. You're going to have to expand.
So the muscle fibers either are in a growth state because they're being utilized, so
Uh-huh.
it's like a maintenance, a stable growth, or increased growth because you're doing more activity,
Right.
right? You're lifting heavier, you're doing more. You all of a sudden you're out there chopping wood and you've never chopped wood before,
Mm-hmm.
so you're going to increase your muscle mass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're not using it and you're just the couch potato, you're going to lose it. That's it with muscle fibers. You either have them or you don't have them. The aging process, in my opinion, and there's some stuff out there that people can research to back it up, but in my humble opinion, which we all know is not so humble, is that the aging process is how much toxins your body has been exposed to and how much you have or have not done to combat it,
Gotcha. Okay.
right? So again, let food be your medicine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
If you create the proper environment internally, you will have the proper external results that you're looking for.
Right. That's awesome. That's exactly what the rehabbers need to hear. And that's why I brought you on the podcast. That's awesome. So I have like one or two more questions. So you kind of answered it already, but for me, when I exercise, it helps me think clearer. It helps me be the creative person that I am. And that's why I can't go 2 or 3 days without meditating or exercising, because my stress level increases, and as my stress level increases, it takes my creativity away. And so if you're saying that if you take meditation, if you take massage and medical massage, it can aid in circulation of the blood flow, it can aid in circulation of oxygen and I don't want to misuse the words, but like proteins in the body. So massage therapy can even aid with thinking clearer. Is that what you're saying? Or it's
Direct,
all relative, basically.
it is connected, because obviously if you're not in pain, it's easier to think clearly. If your circulation has improved, your tissues are being oxygenated better, which means your brain is being oxygenated better, which means you're thinking more clearly. You're allowed to be more creative. Again, the proper chemical environment internally is allowing for the other processes
Mm-hmm.
to happen. So they're very interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I haven't done any research of it myself to see if there's anything out there that directly correlates the two. I wouldn't be surprised if it did, though.
Right.
You'd have to really have some good studies on that. But when the body is in a more relaxed state, you
Mm-hmm.
don't have the stress hormones and enzymes running around in your body,
Mm-hmm.
wreaking havoc. I forget the name of the movie where the characters were all emotions, right? You don't have everybody running around, oh my God, the sky is falling, the sky is falling.
Right.
You can think clearly because everybody's calm. Everything is running.
Inside Out. I was trying to think of the name.
There you go. That's it. So that, it's like your vehicle. Are you putting in high octane,
Mm-hmm.
or are you putting in the lowest octane? How do
Right.
you expect your car to run?
Mm-hmm.
Are you giving it regular maintenance? Are you not giving it regular maintenance? How do you expect your car to run? Are you changing the oil? What kind of oil are you putting in?
Mm-hmm.
Right? The body is it's a very efficient, amazing machine. It's a biological machine.
Mm-hmm.
And it is dependent upon what you put in, how you maintain, no different than any other machine that you own. So what are we putting in? Are we putting in good food? Are we putting in enough water? Are we putting in positive thoughts? Are we putting in negative thoughts?
Right. Yep.
It all feeds us mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. So there you have it, rehabbers. In the process of removing negative thoughts, negative actions, negative emotions that have been holding you back, we now have another tool, we have another exercise, another method that can aid in that process. So, those of you who are in the Las Vegas area, you can come see Brigitte at Oasis Medical Massage. And when things open back up, if you're traveling, you can come visit her. Again, thanks for joining in on a podcast. Glad to have you. That shed a lot of light and provided more clarity on removing that trauma and the negative things that have been holding you back. And you have to look at it from all, like you said, all angles, from physical, spiritual, and mental aspect. And that's what we focus on here at Mind Rehab. So let people know how they can contact you, get more information on you. And when this all clears up, we want to uh, keep you very busy, or busier than you were before. Make up for this lost time.
That would be amazing. Yes, thank you. Yeah, if anyone has any questions during this time when I'm not able to physically put my hands on people to help them, please reach out to me. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to listen in as to what's going on and maybe give you some suggestions on things to do. Now, again, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I none of that. But I have some experience and I can share some ideas with you that I think would benefit. And if I think that it's completely out of my realm, I will tell you that as well. And I can be reached at 702-501-3700. And I look forward to hearing from any one of you. Mention that you heard me here, and I will extend discounts as soon as things are open.
All right, that sounds great. So this has been another episode of Mind Rehab. Again, to get more information on me and the Mind Rehab process, you can visit JarmeenWillis.com. Thanks for all the rehabbers that support us, and we will talk to you next week. And you guys keep moving forward.
Thank you.